take a plane to another plane, to another plane, to another plane, bumping Baka not nice while I'm trapping in the rain. Yes, hello and welcome. This is Ezza Trips Balls, a very special episode. I'm super excited to have my guest today. Is Charles Strong, author of The Block Remembers, which is available digitally and paperback, as you can see. Available everywhere that you can find books, pretty much. Excellent stuff. I encourage everybody who is a fan of not only D12 Detroit hip hop, but hip hop as a whole, or music as a whole. There's a lot to be learned from sort of the other stories that can happen that you don't hear about. I know, being glamorized so much with the fame and the fortune and the popping bottles and the models. You don't sort of see the other side of it. So for anyone who's interested, highly recommend the book. And man, I got so many questions and so many things to say. I'm just going to let you introduce yourself a little bit.
All right. Well, first off, I'm happy to be on the show. Thank you for the opportunity. Glad you enjoyed the book. My name is Charles Strong. As you say, I'm from Detroit, Michigan. Grew up on Runyon with all the members that are in the book, and got a chance to go to college, play football, and now I live overseas in Saudi Arabia. And I've been doing professional health now, public health, for about 20-something years. And while I have my professional career, I have always been connected with the members of Shady Records. They're my family. And also I've had a chance to kind of work on Runyon Ave, the concert management side of the house, where I do concerts and stuff like that. So I've been privileged to have this opportunity. So I'm happy to have you and ready to talk about the book, man. It's a lot in there.
Yeah, there really is. And yeah, thank you again. I can't say my appreciation enough. So yeah, I mean, let's sort of start from the beginning. For those who don't know, D12 was obviously Eminem's group. Their biggest hits: Purple Pills, My Band. I can't wait to talk about those songs. But just to get back to the beginning, they're from Detroit. They were signed by Eminem shortly after Eminem got signed himself. He started Shady Records underneath Dr. Dre's Aftermath, and D12 was the first act that he signed to Shady Records. And at the time, he said that Shady Records was going to be his way of giving back to Detroit and giving back to basically where he's from, which the crew he was associated with most tightly was the Runyon Ave crew. They were the crew that you would have seen with Eminem in videos, on tour. They were essentially, his, I don't want to call his street cred, but to a lot of people that is what y'all look like. They were like, all right, Eminem is not somebody that can just be bullied around, because he's actually from the hood. He's got hood people around him, and he's not to be fucked with, kind of thing. So it let him that, but it also, it goes both ways, as we discover, right? So you're most closely affiliated with and grew up with brothers, family with, as most people know them, Conniva, con artist, and the late Proof. Rest in peace to Proof.
Yes.
So maybe you could start right from the beginning.
Well, shoot, man. It's like you said, it's a long story. And when I wrote the book, I had to be very focused on what I was going to talk about, because there's a long history before they even got signed. And so we grew up since 2 years old on Runyon. And at the time, Proof was living on Hoover. His grandma stayed on Beeland, which was a couple of blocks over from Runyon. And everybody used to hang out on Runyon. This is where we played, crack jokes, hide and go seek, rock fights, everything. You know what I'm saying? And so that's how we all kind of grew up. Now, me, I was like the little brother of the clique, right? So my, like con artists or Nani and Proof, they were not my age bracket. they were with my older brother, Wood, who's in the book. It was in his age bracket. He was a couple years older than me, and he was really into rap early on, like late, I say 1986 on.
Wow.
And then shortly after he got started, he met Proof, and Proof and him became best friends. And then slowly, more people start coming in, and then that's how it kind of all got started. And the beginning of it all was with a group called DRS. It was originally Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, but then they had to drop that name because another group came out with Dirty Rotten Scoundrels, so they changed it to Dope Rhyme Sayers. And that included a lot of the early on rappers from Detroit, including Proof, some of the cats from the K9, Ed O.G., well, we called him Ed O.G., his name was Ed, and, Von Denon, all those guys, they was all part of DRS. And as, like Proof used to say, it started out really much like a Wu-Tang Clan, just a mix of people who could rhyme, who could spit, and they all had a common interest of rapping. And even I got into it at an early age, but I never really had the voice for it. So, because my rap name was Cooley C. So, I used to rap, and then again, another rapper came out with the name of Cooley C. So, so that pretty much stopped me.
That happens a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so I just kind of, fell back into the cut and just, just was there for the ride, you know what I'm saying? And as we got older, I kind of branched off into playing football in high school, got a chance to go to college to play football. Now, mind you, while they was doing all this was like a daily routine. Them getting together, making basement tapes, beat tapes, battle raps, talent shows, on and on. And this was like 1986 up, you know what I'm saying? So middle school, they're doing talent shows. High school, we're doing talent shows. So by the time I got to the college years, I was sick of all that, I'm like, another talent show, another demo tape, another, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And then one time I came home from college, it was my freshman year, and I remember Nani, aka Chronicles, pulled up to the house, and just like in the book it says, he pulled up to the house and was like, I want you to hear something. And I said, okay, yeah, here we go, another basement tape, another, whatever. And I heard Infinite. It was the first time I heard Infinite. And he turned it on the back, and he said, you see who produced it, don't you? And on the back, it said Runyon Ave Records. Or, no, Runyon Ave Entertainment, it was. And I said, that's you, it said Denon Porter, produced by Denon Porter. And I was like, wow, you know what I'm saying? You produced the whole album. He said, yeah, your brother's on it too. Because my brother Will was on a song called Maxine, which is one of the songs that's on the Infinite stuff. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow. And he said, not only that, him had won some kind of big battle at the hip hop shop, and he got a chance to let Dr. Dre hear it. So he's like, it's finally coming together. They call me CB, that's my nickname. And I was like, yeah, I heard that before, seen that before, whatever, And so next thing you know, I'm in college, and my brother calls me and was like, turn on MTV tonight, 8 o'clock. I'm like, why? He said, I ain't got time to explain, just turn it on MTV tonight, right? So I said, okay, I'm in my dorm room, and I cut it on, and I, got, went and got me some Cheerios or something like that. I forgot what it was. And then next thing you know, they introduced a new video by a new rapper named Eminem. And I saw, hi, my name is Hi. And I never screamed so loud before in my life.
God.
I ran up and down the dorm room, up and down the hallway. People thought that somebody got shot or it was a fight, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Holy.
So if you can imagine being like a little brother to these guys,
yes,
and finally watching them out of all their struggles, out of getting gypped out of contests because they can't sing or they didn't have a gimmick or some crap like that.
Like, oh my goodness,
yeah,
I can't imagine.
See one of them make it, you know what I'm saying, was amazing, to me. And then from there, man, it was like a wave. It was like 1999, 2000. It was a dream, really. It was seriously a dream. I even had left college in 2000, came home and said I was going to, I'm riding with y'all, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
At the same time, being a little brother that I was, I had this expectation in my mind of what it was going to be like, glamour, glitz, hanging out, partying, stuff like that. That's what I thought it was going to be. At the same time, I thought that there was a whole bunch of money to be made, right? And, me not being in the business, I don't understand the business. They're in the business, they understand the business. I don't really know what all goes behind the scenes. All I know is that I witnessed the result, you know what I'm saying? And as time went on, I started to notice that they didn't really have much control over their content as I thought they did. Back from hearing them in basement tapes and hearing the demos and all the creative vibes and, and then, hearing their songs come out, I said, why would you choose that song? Why would you choose this song? And it was more of a collective decision, not just their decision anymore, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so, that surprised me. And then a lot of the reality stuff started happening where you started seeing, like I said, the creative restrictions. You started seeing them not be able to go where they wanted to go, do the shows they wanted to do. And then stuff started happening to the crew. When I refer to crew, this is people that we grew up with. Some got robbed. They tried to kill my brother, Wood, in my mom's house. And my friends committed suicide. Now, mind you, that wasn't the only, him not being signed or whatever wasn't the only reason. He had other demons that I found out later on that caused him to do it. But a couple other of my friends got murdered, stuff like that. About what happened to Proof. It's been all on what happened to him. And these things all happen, what I'm saying? And after a while, early on before the deaths and robberies started, I started to understand that, okay, their money is their money. Their money is not my money. I have to find my own way to make it without, I'm not in the music industry. So that's when I decided to go back to college, finish my degree, and try to find my own way, still working with them, or trying to pull them in, whenever I can to still work, because I wanted to do concerts, right? So, so still working with them, and I just had to find my own way, and it was amazing. And when it all got said and done, I said to myself, nobody's ever gonna know this story. Nobody's ever gonna hear about JJ, Mac Mall, all that stuff, and there's a lot of behind the scenes, because where we all grew up on the East Side, everybody kind of knew each other. What I'm saying? We all grew up with each other one way or another. A good friend of mine who just passed suddenly out of a heart attack, his name was Ian J. His name is Romeo Harris. He passed about 3 weeks ago. And he was a rapper from Runyon, but on the other side of Runyon. But he used to always, be around us, rapping with us and stuff like that. And it's amazing that he passed. But it's just how closely knit we are, And like I mentioned in the book, the shooter who shot Proof was a friend of mine who was the offensive tackle on my high school football team.
That was wild to read that.
I actually played with him for 3.5 years at Osborne, from JV to varsity to everything. And then come to find out, 10 years removed from high school, he is the one who's the bouncer at the club that shot Proof, and that took me aback, saying it was crazy.
Unreal, the degrees of separation, even in a big city like Detroit, are nothing,
Yeah.
To nothing.
Yeah. I mean, so that's, that's the book I wrote. I mean, I tried my best to not make it a D12 book. I tried to really focus on my maturity and what happened to me, what I was involved in, what I seen. Some of it is what I've heard. But that kind of leaves the door open for somebody else to tell their story, So, but a lot of it was strictly what I've seen, what I've heard in my side, because I don't think anybody knew other than my brother that Tiny or Mario was my offensive tackle in high school.
Right.
I don't think I really ever told anybody that, because I really, I don't really want people to know that I know him. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
and
of course.
So, yeah.
Have you gotten any reception? Well, I imagine you have, but have you heard anything from what kind of stuff have you been hearing from people back who have read the book? Have you heard from the crew specifically?
I sent the box home, a free book to home, and sent them all to my brother Wood. Told him to give them out to whoever wanted them. Some of the compliments have been good, but some of them have been negative in the fact that they felt like I embellished some people over others, or I favored some people over others, or I didn't know the background story to a lot more other stuff that happened. For instance, JJ,
okay.
Like I said, he had a lot more demons than what I knew about.
Right.
But the book is strictly from my perspective and what I knew at the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So if there was any additional, there's always, right, when somebody gets shot in the hood, there's always a story that you're told.
Yes.
And then there's a story that his family is told. And then there's a story that the police is told. And then so everybody has like a different version, you know what I'm saying? I just strictly stuck to what I knew. So, and that leaves the door open for if somebody else has a different version, they're welcome to speak their version. But I really focused on how those deaths and those events shaped me, made me take the path that I took.
Yeah.
Because when JJ did that, I said, oh man, he's taking this shit serious.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And to some people, music is that serious. Hip hop is that. It's a live or die. Like him, in 8 Mile, he was saying, this is it for me. If I don't do it, you know what I'm saying, I'm on the street, you know what I'm saying? For some people who do that and don't make it, and they literally do end up on the street, sometimes they get to that low place to where they're like, this is it. That was my last shot. I shot it, and that's it. You know what I'm saying? So again, he had other demons that was going on. But for the most part, every event in that book happened, and everybody has an angle in the story, like Mario would prove. Nobody really knows that angle because nobody ever asked me. I'm just a little brother. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, but still, it's like I have a story to tell, and I wanted to tell it.
Well, I really appreciate that you did, and it was wild for me to read as a fan because I was born in 1990, so around the time, obviously I was 9 years old when I heard My Name Is for the first time, and it changed my whole life. Like I never looked back since that day. Probably similarly to how you never looked back since that day, but on a much more micro level. Like I was a little kid at recess, and I liked hip hop before that, but it was actually my black friend that came up and showed me, yo, you got to check out this white rapper. And and then I saw the white rapper. I'm like, oh, okay. So I can like this too without like looking like an idiot, because I used to get made fun of by the white kids for fucking with hip hop. And then he was like, yo, check out this white rapper. Right. So it blew my fucking mind right out of my head.
To be honest, that was the same way M was introduced to me. So don't feel bad.
So I was a little kid at the time. And then, Marshall Mathers LP came out, and like we would sneak to the record store to hear the unedited version on the headphones and shit like that. So when D12 came around, it was like, hold on, he's got a whole crew. And I was always invested on the internet, which the internet at the time was like very, very infantile stage of it. And it's understated how D12 and like Big Proof actually used the internet a lot early before it was like a thing. And just to touch on the internet as a whole, it's like a lot of rappers coming up now. What something I really loved about the book, and if that helps bring it back to the beginning as well, is just that I don't think aspiring rappers and musicians now understand what it was like to do stuff like talent shows and all, that was their only hustle back then. Like they had to get it out there somehow, and there was no internet. They were selling tapes out the back of their cars, like, we complain how it is now, like, because there's so much competition and it's so oversaturated. But like, imagine not even having a platform and having to try to make yourself that platform.
It was like back then, your car was your internet. You had to drive.
Your car was your internet. And then, from, like you say, it started about 86, and then from 86 to, let's say 96 is when things started to maybe turn up a little bit. That's when, Emma was winning contests and shit and going to LA. That's 10 years of no internet, like aspiring rapper hustle, a whole crew. You know what I mean? Like, that's a long time. And when you say you finally turned on the TV that day and it was like, hi, oh shit. Like, like you say, a dream within a dream, man. I can't even begin to understand. So from my perspective, just reading about what that must have been like for the friends and family of that crew, just incredible stuff. And then, when it starts to unfortunately take a dark turn, that's when it got really eye-opening for me. And then the rest of the book from that point, I was just like, oh no. Because we'll start with kind of the first big red flag was Purple Pills, right? So everything's all good, everybody's all happy. D12's now signed to Shady Aftermath as like the Detroit Wu-Tang Clan. It's like, hold on a sec, big red flag. What is this song? They're talking about pills and acid and mescaline and like all this stuff. And like, I'll be honest with you, man, when I read that in the book and I found out that it was all fake, I was disappointed. But I'm kind of happy that they didn't do hard drugs and shit. You know what I mean? But like, I can't believe that was all fake, because to me, D12 was kind of the start of, and you later touched that Proof really regretted it, but this whole like drug rap wave, I don't remember anyone really doing that before D12. I remember it being drug.
Eshawn actually started acid rap back in the day.
Okay.
In Detroit. I don't really speak about Eshawn because we had some.
Yeah, y'all had beef with Eshawn, right?
Yeah. He's from Osborne too, so yeah. But they kind of squashed all that, so I'm not really going to speak on that because I don't even know how it started. I was in college, so.
Yeah, that was just one of those things I read about on the internet too. But as far as like mainstream, when you had, essentially anybody but Eminem rapping about doing drugs rather than selling drugs, it kind of took a turn with that Purple Pill song. Like, I don't remember there being any mainstream.
I read this article before about the maturity of hip hop, of how they went from avoiding drugs to talk about selling drugs, and now they're talking about doing drugs. You know what I'm saying?
The full transition, right?
Because if you remember NWA, right, and the song "Dope Man," the one thing that Ice Cube said was, don't get high on your own supply. You remember that word? And then you look at it, 5-10 years later, they actually are getting high on their own supply.
Yeah, they're tweaking while they're rapping and shit. And it's like, but what I found super interesting is that like that Purple Pill song was kind of like an industry construct. Like they said, like it might make these 5 black guys with Eminem more relatable to Eminem's massive fan base of a bunch of white kids if we have them rapping about the same type of shit that Eminem raps about, which is, I'm going to steal my mom's drugs and like all the fucking crazy white boy shit, right? And they sort of came out like that. And since then, that's kind of been an industry standard almost. It's like it's kind of fucked up. And I don't think anyone really credits D12 with that. And that's probably a good thing. But I always thought like there is some sort of lineage there, and it's kind of interesting how that was like an industry idea, like that was,
Yeah.
you know. And then you say like the rest of the Devil's Night album was actually very true to what they were doing prior to that.
Yeah.
So before I continue to ramble on, I just want you to touch a little bit on the reaction from the community when that first single from D12 dropped, Purple Pills.
It was, you know, because before their first album came out, right, we got to hear Pistol Pistol, Shit Can Happen.
Fire.
You know, now these songs were all basement tape songs 5 years ago. And they just, you know, remixed them. Yeah, they polished them with some professional beats and some real professional studio time behind them. And so when those songs came out, Pistol Pistol, we already was familiar with the song from the underground, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we heard, I say about 3/4 of the album on the block, right? And so we can't wait to hear those same songs finally getting played on WJLB, on Detroit radio, so they can hear what, you know, we gotta say.
That was the dream, right?
Yeah, yeah. And I say we, really it's them, but I say we because we were so close, like family. It was like if they made it, I felt like I made it. You know,
of course.
So then when finally the radio debut happened, and the song we heard was Purple Pills, and nobody had heard that song prior. We was all taken aback, you know, like what it is, and we was like, you know, I do a couple uppers, I do a couple downers, and we was all like, okay, you know, we're like, okay, and to me, you know, I talked about in the book about how when they did talent shows. So, like I was saying, you got to have a gimmick to like win over the whole audience, not just some of the audience. So that's how we kind of viewed the first single. It was like, okay, all right, you know, I don't know, not the song that I would have chosen to come out with, but you know, maybe there's something behind it, you know, and to the most part, it was different reactions. Some people was just like, well, it's their first song. And there's some people was like, what the hell was that? You know what I'm saying? And I'm like, you know,
what the hell was that?
Yeah, like, you know, what the hell was that? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And even I was confused because I have, you know, growing up with them, hearing every basement tape, I never heard anything like Purple Pills. But, you know, when I asked, you know, Vaughn and them about it, you know, they explained to me, just like I said, the song was meant to, the first song was meant to reach out to a writer base, so you can say, hey, listen to me. And then once you pull them in, then you hit them with the true lyricism behind their other tracks that are on the album. So it's kind of like having a sale at a department store where you advertise one product, you come in for that product, and the store owner is hoping that you buy more than just that one product. So everybody came in for Purple Pills, but they fell in love with the lyricism from the rest of the album.
Yeah.
And then that was it. And I couldn't argue because Purple Pills went I think 3 times platinum or something like that by itself.
It seems to have worked, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it worked, you know, you can't knock the results, you know what I'm saying? And so, but I just that was the track that from the hood, you skipped over that track and went to the other songs. You know what I'm saying? You know, you just skipped over that track and went to the other song. You know what I'm saying? But while it was a commercial hit, that's when the people that were really hip hop heads started to look at like, okay, I get D12 is this and that, but you know, what's going on? We know D12 from the hip hop shop, and that doesn't sound like what they normally put out. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So
that is what started that whole underground vibe of, okay, what are these guys really doing? You know, and then the second album came out, and again, hardcore, hip hop hitting, start to finish. I think actually album 2 to me was more gutter and more Detroit like than the first album.
Yeah,
And
D12
then,
World was great. It was very underrated. It had that song Loyalty on it, which pretty much
yeah,
is like the manifesto for a lot of what
yeah,
you wrote about in the book.
yeah. And they did the Good Die Young, tribute to
Yes.
Bud. God rest, God rest in peace to him, rest in power. But yeah. So, but to leave that album out was my band. You know what I'm saying? And so again, now the one thing I will say, we've always been jokers, always.
Yes.
So comedy was always part of their hip hop. Even when we used to cap on each other's mamas, you know what I'm saying? It was always joke filled, you know what I'm saying? And we used to, as kids, do skits all the time on the block and act out parts from movies and whatever. And we used to always say, like, one day I'm gonna be an actor and we're gonna do this and do that, So to see that incorporated into a lot of their videos did not surprise me one bit. That is them, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They are truly silly cats like that, you know what I'm saying?
So would you say my band is actually more true to who they are than Purple Pills was?
Yeah, it is. But at the same time, it was in the same vein as Purple Pill.
It was an identical formula, basically.
Right. Again, something to reach out to not only people from Detroit and the hood or the hip hop heads, but also to grab in people who wouldn't normally listen to hip hop.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what I have to give credit to D12. That's what they did do. The people who wouldn't listen to hip hop before got turned on to start listening to hip hop. Same thing with Eminem. When Eminem came out, before him, Third Base and the Beastie Boys, look at the Beastie Boys. The Beastie Boys came out back from Run DMC, but they didn't really catch fire till like the early 90s. You know what I'm saying? It was kind of overlooked. You know what I'm saying? So when Eminem and D12 came out, they got people to start listening to rap where they otherwise would have just said, oh, that's just the normal hip hop stuff. They're just going to talk about what they talk about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that, people give them the negative credit of introducing kids to pills and ecstasy, whatever, but they don't give them the positive credit of they introduce people who normally wouldn't listen to hip hop the chance to listen to it and kind of understand where it's coming from. And they actually grew the genre, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's actually really true, and that's a great way of looking at it. There's people can look at the negative side to that sort of industry formula, but the positive side of that is you really do have to give them credit for not only as far as the rapping goes, the lyricism is still there in those songs. They're still rapping just as good as they rap on any other song. It's just not the same content. It's not the same kind of beat. You know what I mean? But you have to give them credit as songwriters for taking sort of that industry formula and doing what they did with it, because that really did introduce a lot of people to their art form. Yeah. So that is very true.
And again, you're talking to the perspective of somebody who's not in the industry. You know what I'm saying? The book is written from somebody who's not in the industry, who wouldn't know what actually, I'm not a marketing research person. I don't really know what would sell, what don't sell. You know what I'm saying? And most people, I think, if you're an artist, you really just do you and expect people to, I hope they like what I got for them.
Yes.
Versus trying to tailor yourself to, well, maybe they would appeal to this. Let me just do one song. Because people try that, right? You see with Eminem's later albums, he tried to, he tried to experiment with different ways of rapping. And people say, I don't like that. I like the original Eminem. I don't like the new Eminem. But, early on to do it, it's okay. You know what I'm saying? To gauge people, to try creative things, and then bring them back to your core. As long as you never forget your core, you'll always be successful, So, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good way of looking at that. So Purple Pills comes out, and the next sort of sobering moment was that conversation you had with Vaughn where you're sort of like, so what's going on? And he's like, oh, we don't get paid. And you're just like, wait, hold on, what? You know, when I read that, I was like, wow. Like, I was always kind of under the impression that obviously Eminem got the bulk of the money from that, just on the merit that he was the main selling point of the album. As far as the industry would have been concerned when they're signing D12, I'm sure that, all respect to D12, that deal's probably not there without Eminem as a member of the group, right? So I always kind of had in my mind that he got the money, but the fact that they kind of, it seems like they really got fucked on that first album. You know, they got a lot of opportunity from it, but they were sort of left to fend for themselves.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, you know, and shout out to Kaniva, you know, for his new album, The Bango Theory.
Yes, excellent stuff.
Very underrated, you know what I'm saying? My brother is doing it big.
Kaniva's amazing.
You know, like early on, you know, me being a little brother, I'm very like emotional, right? You know what I'm saying? Oh, they doing this, they trying to screw my brother, blah, 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 blah. And Nani, Von, and Proof all together really helped me kind of calm down, understand. It takes time to do what we need to do, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, and until I started doing concerts on my own, you know, I didn't really realize how much of the pies is cut up. You know, this person gets this percentage, this person gets that percentage. You know, the person you got the beat from, he does this and do that. Even writing this book, because I actually made an audio book version of this book, and I had a voiceover actor do it. And there was a choice of either paying him a lump sum outright, so you own it, and then there was you can not pay him the lump sum, and then he just collect royalties like you collect royalties.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's the same way like if you do an album. You can either pay your way out of it and own your own shit, or you can allow people to take a percentage of your earnings from it. And if it does well, you know, you made them a millionaire. If it does poor, well, at least they got, you know, what they deserve, you know. But it could go either way, right? And so they explained it to me. And again, talk somebody who's not in the industry, I'm just an engineer, right? So I'm like, okay, you know, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And so, but it was interesting how they said it, you know, because I thought, you know, you're triple platinum, you know, each of y'all must be sitting on like $10 million a piece, you know what I'm saying?
that's what you think, right?
Right, gotta be, right? But, you know, and they explained to me it's not like that, you know what I'm saying? And that was kind of an interesting, sobering process for me. You know what I'm saying? It was one of the reality checks that was given to me early on, and it was given to me by them to just be like, look, calm down, chill out. Things will happen, but it won't happen as fast as you think it's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? Just because you got a platinum album playing on the radio doesn't mean that we all can retire now and live on the beach. You know what I'm saying? The work is just beginning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that was an interesting take for me. And I appreciated that because, you know, it really kind of put things in perspective for me. And I started opening my eyes and seeing more stuff after that was explained to me, you know.
Right. And that's why, I mean, like for me, that's the part of the book that really the eye-opening began for me as a fan, because I didn't get that reality check until I read your book, you know. The fact that, you know, those guys between those two albums, that 3-year wait, they all were just back living where they were living for the most part. You know what I mean? Obviously had some tour money and had some revenue checks and whatnot. But for the most part, these guys weren't living any kind of glamorous life. And at that time, they were world famous. You know, they you know what I mean? It's wild stuff.
You know, I give you an example. Every time they did a show with D12, any promoter will always say, is Eminem performing with you? You know what I'm saying? And that, with Eminem performing with them, it's $100,000 plus. Eminem not performing with them, $30,000. You know what I'm saying? Something like that. You know what I'm saying? That just shows how much behind. I mean, they're behind the #1 rapper in the world. You know what I'm saying? You know, and being behind somebody like that, and you're in this group, everybody always wondered, every show, is him gonna show up? Is him gonna show up?
Yeah.
Show up, so and that tapered their money down as well. You know what I'm saying? So, but still, hold on one second. Let me lock this door. Somebody wants in.
Yeah, no problem.
I got kids, man. Kids don't understand boundaries.
I sure don't.
Yeah. So that was interesting because I every chance I got from college, summer break, spring break, I was trying to link up with my brother and them wherever they was on tour. You know what I'm saying? And it's kind of like that. And I think that my perspective is so different than everybody else because of the fact that I was always bouncing between college. You know what I'm saying? So I was always working on, well, I'm not going to be a rapper, so I have to work on being an engineer and being the best damn engineer that I can. And sometimes that means the best job is in California, the best job is in Miami. You know what I'm saying? And I got to go wherever the money is. At the same time, my mind is always thinking of, man, I wonder what they was doing. You know what I'm saying? Because I talked about going to Eminem's mansion for his birthday.
Yes.
In the book, and it was an amazing sight. You know what I mean? Just say it like that. And again, it comes like a little brother who knew what all struggles they had to go through to get to where they get to, and then go to that house and see those gates. And we drove out so far, and we drove out so far. I had to be like, are we still in the same country? You know what I'm saying? It was just like so far. And then we pulled up, and there's these like 3 or 4 mansions on this block, like in the semicircle, and he was like in the middle. And I don't know who was living next door to him, but they used to come over and party with him. And I remember we walked to the pool area, and the room was so big he had to have like an intercom system to talk to people in the house. It was amazing. It was amazing to see it. So, as the little brother who, at this point, Devil's Night hadn't even came out yet. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy. How was he that rich before? How was he that rich before Devil's Night even came out, man?
Because the Up in Smoke tour and all that stuff happened.
Oh yeah, that was huge. That was huge.
Yeah.
I got that DVD.
And so when I'm there, I was like, okay, Bond and the next.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Bond and the next. Bond, Proof, Naughty. And then, because I knew Eminem when I came home this summer, and he hadn't been signed yet, and he came over to play basketball, and Eminem could actually he's a pretty good hooper, by the way.
Okay,
and so, but but that was the last time I actually saw Eminem and spoke to him, because shortly after that, I went back to school, and M kept trying to, he went around shopping the Infinite album. The next time I saw him was on the set for Toy Soldiers.
Oh, wow.
And the funny part is,
how creepy is that video, man?
And the funny part is, I'm actually in that video. Yeah.
Man,
if you go back to that video, and there's a part where Eminem's bodyguard is bringing him a bulletproof vest.
Yes.
That's me.
There you go.
They completely cut off my head and everything, and
that's
all you see
hilarious.
is handing him over the vest. And the funny part is that M still remembers my name, and it's shocking to me because we didn't have that many conversations with me. Again, he wasn't in my age bracket. He was in my Wood age bracket.
Yeah.
So like just last year, he was in Abu Dhabi. Abu Dhabi from Saudi Arabia is like an hour and a half flight. And I flew down there to go hang out with Nani. And M was getting ready. I think it was Alcatraz's birthday. That's what it was. So he was running around trying to get this cake made for Alcatraz's birthday. And he peeked out the door and he saw me there. And then he did a double take and said, "What up, CB?"
Wow.
And I was like, "Hey, him," you know what I'm saying?
That's crazy, man. Well, fuck, good for him, man.
I'm like, it's like literally been like 18 years.
That makes me smile. That makes me smile. I got so many mixed feelings for Eminem after reading this book, man, but that story made me feel a little better.
Yeah. I mean, listen, those, and that's just it, because, you know, the book was made, and the years of D12 were some of the best years of all of our lives, and everybody on the block says the same thing. You know, good, bad, whatever, indifferent, how everything ended up, whatever. You know, D12 is over and all that other stuff. You know what I'm saying? It still was the best years of our life, and nobody regrets anything. You know what I'm saying? And to be honest with you, like I said in the book, you know, lesser men would not have came back as promised.
Absolutely.
They would have said, "I got mine, you better get yours." You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you gotta give him credit for that. And I still gotta give him credit for, I don't know how you still remember my name, but you remember my name.
Yeah, shouts out to M for that. God damn.
Because the next day I went to breakfast, and M said, Nani said, did M say hi to you? I said, yeah. He said, because he came to my trailer later on and was like, "Hey, I think I saw CV out there." And he was like, yeah, he lives in Saudi Arabia. He said, "Oh man," he said, "Make sure you tell him that I said, you know, I would have stopped and talked, but we only got like 10 minutes before we go on stage. I don't want him to think I'm not saying look." And I'm like, "Nah, you know,
that's super cool, man. That's cool as fuck. That's cool as fuck."
I mean, family is family, man. You know, that's just it. Once you crew, you family. And as we get older, you know what I'm saying, as you get older, the shit that used to bug you a lot when you was a kid, you know, younger, 20 years ago, let that shit ride now. You know what I'm saying? That's 20 years later. You know what I'm saying? And the fact that we all are still friends now is still amazing to me. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely, you know, and it really it's a testament to that love and to that love for your community and that brotherhood, that family, because, you know, as somebody who's a fan who's been following this whole story from the other perspective for so long, like, I read that and it's just so hard for me to wrap my mind around how somebody could have that much money and still there's so much suffering going on around, like, it just, you know. But at the same time, the other side of it is, as you said, a lesser man wouldn't have come back in the first place. A lesser man wouldn't have taken you guys with him, wouldn't have welcomed you into his mansion. All of this amazing stuff he did that, you know, you guys had some of the best memories of your lives. But at the same time, there's that other side of it where it's like, you know, you kind of mentioned in the book where, like, how about like a retweet or like show up or, you know, like anything, like 50 always was on the G Unit members albums. And the thing that breaks my heart the most, and you kind of mentioned this in the book, and if it's an uncomfortable subject, no problem. But it really bothers me because I was always a big fan of Proof's solo music, even before he passed. I had all his solo mixtapes. I Miss the Hip Hop Shop, Oil Can Harry, you know, and then finally Searching for Jerry Garcia. He had a big fan base that, you know, Searching for Jerry Garcia was a big thing to come out. You know, people waited for that album for years, and then it finally dropped. And you know what? It bothers me as a fan of both M and Proof and D12 that M, other than throwing that one little Proof verse on that re-up mixtape, he's never really pumped Proof solo music at all. Like, even after his death, been like, everybody should go listen to my best friend's Searching for Jerry Garcia album, you know, because to me, Searching for Jerry Garcia is one of my favorite albums of all time. You know what I mean? I have amazing memories of listening to that album with my best friend who's now passed, you know, so that shit is special to me. So it's just like, and I, you know, I understand the lack of resentment toward M, but there's got to be some level of like, man, what the fuck? Like, what the fuck, you know?
You know, you know, again, 20 years allows you to get perspective, right? And there's a lot that I don't know. You know, I'm from the outside looking in, you know,
Yes.
and so is everybody else. For all we know, M could have cashed him out $2 million to help him go make Jerry Garcia.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And we don't know that. You know, maybe he
True.
did or not. You know what I'm saying? So, and you know, I made it in the point in the book not to make those type of assumptions that he didn't offer any help. He didn't offer any help with Pubby. You know what I'm saying? I got to give him the benefit of the doubt simply because I know how we all grew up as crew. You know what I'm saying? Right. But you know, at the same time, you know, he wasn't on the album. You know what I'm saying? And I wish we could have did more, especially from the Shady label to Public more. But again, I have learned from being slightly affiliated with this business is that you don't always have creative content control as much as you think, you know what I'm saying? And probably now he has a lot more creative control than what he did back then. And I'm sure if that's the case, it's probably why he had a lot of grief behind it, you know what I'm saying? We all do, you know what I'm saying? But we don't know at that time whether or not there was something in his contract that says you can't be on anybody else's album without approval from whatever, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, and so I wrote it from a sense of, I don't know why, you know what I'm saying? I don't know why. And so that allows him, if he ever wants to write a book about why, you know, maybe he can, or one of the other people from D12 who may know more than I do can write their own book and talk about why, you know what I'm saying, why these things didn't happen. Because I don't know, you know what I'm saying? You know, I just wish from a little brother standpoint that, you know, I wish more could have been done. I wish he would have been on those albums. But I wasn't in the room when things were being decided either, you know what I'm saying? So I can't really speak on that.
Yeah, of course. And you know, you very clearly, this is not the Eminem book, you know what I mean? So I don't want to make this about M at all. He's not even mentioned that much in the book. But just to say, like, as a fan, it's very weird for me to read that, you know, Runyon Ave now is not in good shape, you know, like in my mind, M could buy that whole community. What's stopping him? He could buy every house there and fucking renovate every house and make it a thriving community. You know what I mean? But these are the fantasies that people who don't have that much money have. You know what I mean? I don't understand what it's like to be Eminem, and I'm never going to understand it, right? So I could say he could have done this, he could have done that. And if all you guys give him that benefit of the doubt, then who am I as a fan to say fuck this guy for not helping these guys? You know what I'm saying?
Think about it like this. When you get famous and you go up with a crew as big as my crew is, right? And you bring them all with you and you make them famous in common, right? When the limelight starts dimming, and it happens in every person's career, right? That the people you made famous, they're no longer regular people anymore. They can't go back to the same neighborhood. They can't associate with the same people. They can't hang at the same bars because they're famous. They may not be superstar rich anymore, but they're still famous.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So these guys, you know, when they go out places, people know who they are. You know what I'm saying? And that means that the person who made them famous now has a responsibility to keep them in that lifestyle, because if he doesn't and they go back to where they're from, it could be disastrous, right?
Tragic.
So and let's just say, not even music industry wise, let's just say you have a successful career and you become a millionaire or whatever, and you decide to help your cousin or your friends with money, right? And then all of a sudden, you know, their business venture or whatever fails or whatever, you know what I'm saying? You start to feel somewhat responsible because you thought, maybe I could have did more, maybe I could have did this, and then stuff like that, you know? So it's always coulda, woulda, shoulda. But in this case, with the music industry, I've noticed that fame has a price. Being rich, there's a lot of rich people. There's a lot of millionaires that you would never know because they're not famous, right? So here we're talking about a genre that create millionaires, and those millionaires come and go like, you know what I'm saying? At the same time, they can't see you bagging groceries at the corner store. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now you have a pressure on you to keep that performance up because you can't go back. And if you do go back, they know you're still affiliated with the #1 rapper in the world.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So they'll kidnap you, kidnap your kids. You know what I'm saying? Because you may not have no money, but your boy does.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So it's a blessing and it's a curse. You know what I'm saying? It truly is, you know. So I don't blame anybody for not doing enough, saying enough, because I'm sure everybody did as best as they could. And in my heart, like I said in the book, in my heart, I have to believe. You know what I'm saying? I have to, just from what I've seen and what I know, you know, and again, this is little brother perspective talking, right? Like I said, for all I know, M could have cashed them all out, millions of dollars each, and said, good luck to you, brother. You know what I'm saying? For all I know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know that. And even now, they're still, like, Kaniva is doing great on his solo, underground, you know, thing with Bango Theory, and etc. My brother's Keeper just came out with him and Swifty.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They're doing good. Bazaar is still doing his own thing. Nani is still, you know, making beats and doing other things else. And M, of course, is still M. So these brothers are still doing things, you know what I'm saying? So, but still, you know, I look back on those years with fondness. I look back on those years with regret. Because I would have hoped that I had a Porsche by now. Like somebody just gifted me a Porsche. Here you go.
You know.
But early on, I realized that wasn't going to happen. You know what I'm saying? You got to find your own way. And I say that to say because the book is written about some real life drama shit. You know what I'm saying? And it wasn't meant to seem unappreciative for D12 or Eminem. It wasn't meant to be a slight at any of them because, again, I'm the little brother looking in. It's from my perspective. And it is a shock to people because every book you've ever read about Eminem has always been a good news story.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? How he struggled, now he made it, and
it's the rags to riches, right?
To the sunset, you know what I'm saying? We ride off to the sunset on the white pony, you know what I'm saying? That's how every book is written, you know what I'm saying? You know, there may be some that dip into some dark things that happen in his life or whatever, but it's very rare that the people from the sideline who was there get a chance to say what they saw in their perspective, you know what I'm saying? And my perspective may not mean shit, but it's my story, you know what I'm saying? And it's the things that happened that made me change my life, find my own way. And I'm not rich by any means. I'm not rich by any means or any stretch of the imagination, but I'm doing well. And I'm happy, you know what I'm saying? I just wish that things had happened differently for my brothers. You know, I wish that Proof, because, you know, the story about Proof, he died on my brother's birthday.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? My brother Wood, his birthday is on April 10th. And they went to the strip club that night in Detroit. And my brother had to go to work the next morning and he went home. And then, you know, Proof wanted to continue on to the after party, you know, at an after hour spot. And that's where he got killed. And I don't think anybody talks about, they talk about how it affected them. I don't think anybody ever asked my brother, who was his best friend, right? They were like the first two to get together in 1986 and 7 and start rapping. Nobody ever asked him, how do you feel about your best friend being murdered on your birthday? In that split second of you deciding to go home and go to sleep versus continuing to go out may have saved your life or it may have cost your friend his life.
Unbelievable.
You know what I'm saying? You know, that is something that still messes with him to this day.
And always will, I'm sure. I mean, that type of thing doesn't go away.
I mean, everybody say, man, if I was just there, if I would have been there, if I would have been there, it's, you know, it's coulda, woulda, shoulda, brother. You know what I'm saying? But those things happen, you know what I'm saying? But those stories, you know, I don't know if those stories ever would have got told if I didn't tell it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And
you know,
and I had read the story of Proof's death, like most people had, from the XXL article where they interviewed Mud, who Proof had partied with that night. And it was really interesting for me to read your side of that story, where not everybody fully believed Mud, and especially at first, people were very skeptical of his version of the story. You know, later things turned out that there were other witnesses there, and things were kind of corroborated. But the real sad part that your book brought to light to me, that I was completely unaware of, was that there was a very good chance that the club owners, once everybody scattered, really took the time to cover their own ass before even calling police to the scene, and there might have been a chance that Proof could have survived. So of all the coulda, woulda, shouldas, you know, that hit real hard. And just that story as a whole, fucking tough, man. And you know, Tiny, who you played football with, I feel bad for him in the story too. Like, I feel bad for everybody involved in that. Whereas as a fan, I mean, from my perspective, you know, that morning I woke up, I went on the internet, I went on D12 World, which was my favorite forum, and the news was already there. There was rumors that Proof died a few hours ago, and I was like, what the fuck? And I had to go to school that morning, and one of my homeboys who I was beefing with at the time, and we weren't really talking, I saw him in the hallway, and we were both like, did you hear about Proof? And we kind of had a moment where we had a little reconciliation over what happened to Proof, because, I mean, yeah, it still fucks me up thinking about that. You know, that was my first real big loss of somebody who I looked up to and admired. And it was tough, and I never really heard all the details of the story until I read your book. And a lot of mixed feelings, man. A lot of mixed feelings. Like, I knew that Proof was a shit disturber, and everybody loved that part of his character as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
The story of him almost getting you fucking beat up by Trick and the Goon Squad is fucking hilarious, right? Like, that's such a perfect Proof story, right?
Man, I'll never forget that, man.
That's the best, man. That was great to read, because I'm like, that is so fucking Proof. But then, you know, there's a dark side to being the shit disturber, you know, and it really sounds like what happened. Everybody was to blame there, you know. So I feel bad for Tiny. I feel bad for everybody. I feel bad for Keith Bender's family. All this time I had been like, rest in peace, Proof. Fuck everybody that was there. You know what I mean? Which I'm sure is how a lot of people felt at the time. But then you kind of hear the full story, and you're like, damn, like, that is just a tragedy.
Still like rest in Proof. I'm still like, fuck everybody else. Rest in peace.
Well, it's always rest in peace, Proof forever. You know that. But
right.
you know, but for me, like, I had never seen those other sides of the story where I was like, damn, like, nobody asked for that to happen, man. Like that, you know what I mean? That was really fucked up story. Just a all out tragedy from every angle, you know. And I had never seen that side of it, so I imagine that was not easy to write about either.
No, it wasn't, but you know, it was you know, it was a perspective of mine. And like I said, you know, I don't know why me and Mug went to high school together, Osborne and all that. I never really clicked with Mug. You know, not that he's a bad guy. I just always, you know, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
There's those people that rub you the wrong way, man.
Right. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? He's not a bad dude. I just never really, you know, really clicked with him like that. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I always felt when you go out, you know, you should go out with family.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I really felt like if Proof was with family, but he considered Mud family, so I can't say that either. But if he was with the cats from the block, you know what I'm saying? If I was there, I know Tiny. You know what I'm saying? I'd have been like, hey, Tiny, you know what I'm saying? Man. You know, it's just, and going over the coulda, woulda, shoulda would drive you fucking crazy, bro. You know what I'm saying? So
at every point, right? There's the,
right,
you know?
right. So it starts at the club. Why did y'all make him go home? Why did y'all make him go home?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then and then it starts when the argument started, and then when guns got drawn, and who left who, and what happened in between when the cops got called and whatever. Then it's a whole bunch of coulda, woulda, shoulda. You know what I'm saying? And all of it is just really heartbreaking. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But to talk about it in the book, I think was really therapy for me, because I really got to say how I felt about the situation. You know what I'm saying? Without threatening nobody. I didn't want to threaten nobody. You know what I'm saying? You know, I didn't want to put that in the book, but
sure, you had to scratch it out a few times.
Right. I had to reword that like 5 times. You know what I'm saying? Make sure. You know what I'm saying? You know, and that's another thing about writing this book, is that you had to be really careful, and I didn't do a good enough job. And you never will when you write a book like this.
Right.
When you write it, people will read something one way. Some people will read it the other way. Some people will see, oh, well, you're just talking, you know what I'm saying? And my whole thing is, I didn't want the book to seem like, oh, he's trying to make money off of D12, you know what I'm saying? And, he going to write a book bashing them, talking about them. No.
Man. You could have done the most if you wanted to do that. You know what I mean? Like, you clearly didn't take that approach. Right. So,
that book is not me. This book had to do with my family members. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
People that I grew up, they mama know my mama. We ate at the same table. You know what I'm saying? Christmas time come, we're sharing toys. You know what I'm saying? These are the type of cats I'm talking about in this book. You know what I'm saying? So the book had nothing to do with that. You know what I'm saying? And so, but again, no matter how good you are, when you write a book like this, people are going to read into it what they want to see. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so this is why I appreciate opportunities like this.
Yeah.
So I can really explain that's not the purpose of the book. In no way, shape, or form. These are my brothers. I love them to this day. You know what I'm saying? No matter what is said, no matter what has been done, no matter what fallouts we have, at the end of the day, they're still my brother.
Yes.
And I'm still their brother. You know what I'm saying? So like I tell them every time, what you gonna do? You're still gonna see me at Christmas. You're still gonna see me at Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no.
So,
and I have to tell you, man, that's very much the energy I got from the book. So anybody who actually takes the time to read it, they're gonna see that, man. They're gonna see that your intention is not to call attention to yourself by throwing other people under the bus or any bullshit like that. Like, the moral of the story is, through all of this, I still love these people, and I still love the community I came from, and I always will, so that's what I got from it. And, and I appreciate that was your intention as well,
because, when I wrote the book, and my brother, Con artist, used to tell me all the time, when he writes a song and he puts it out there, he never reads the comments. You know what I'm saying? He never looks at it. He just puts the energy into the next one. And I made the mistake early on and went on Amazon, and I read the first couple comments, and, they was pretty harsh, negative, you know what I'm saying? He's lying, there's this, that, and the other. And I'm like,
come on.
But then I did some digging, and Amazon said this person never even bought the book.
There you go.
So it's like, and I was surprised. I'm like, are you able to leave comments and you haven't even bought the book yet? And so the people who I talk to, everybody I talk to who I explained the book to, they enjoyed the book but had questions of why, saying something like that. But at the same time, the people who called me, who was real gung-ho about, you said this and you said that, and you talking about Tiny's your friend, you was friend with this guy, saying stuff like that. And I'm like, did you read the book?
Yeah, like you must have missed something.
That's my first question to them, is like, did you read the book, or did somebody just tell you about a part of
Exactly.
the book? You know what I'm saying? It's very important that people read the book.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because if you just get into the event, there's everybody has their opinion about how stuff went down. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
But if you read the entire story, you will see at the end this whole story is kind of flushed out. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So,
yeah. And you know what I mean? It's relatable. It's in a different time, in a different place. I was reading about me and my friends, we're all aspiring hip hop artists, this and that. And we've seen tragedies as a result. And it was just like on a smaller scale, of course, but it was like so relatable. And I think anybody can get that from that story, is that like, no matter what you go through, that love, that type of love is unconditional, So I thought it was great.
I really think about it. Again, looking back 20 years now, I just can't. That weight that they have on them is astronomical, and for him to be where he is now, the weight on his shoulder has to literally feel like the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's got to be hard to stay sane.
Yeah, I mean, and you think, I remember when they first came out with D12. This is not in the book. I'm like, hey, call my brother. Hey, let's go downtown and go to which college? I can't. I'm like, why not? You busy? No, because I got to call security, and security not working tonight.
Security.
Security for? You know what I'm saying? And so like it like anywhere they got to go now, they got to have security with them. You know what I'm saying? And that means somebody got to pay that security.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I'm sitting there like, damn, so the things we used to do, we can't do no more. So, and then it turned into, well, I can't come to the family gatherings anymore. You got to come here.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Because they can't go out. And it has nothing to do with their being snobby or something like that. It's just, that's the reality of the hip hop fame world.
Damn.
Once you get famous, you can't do what you used to do. Me, I could be well off, millionaire, whatever. Nobody knows who Charles Strong is. Yeah, I wrote a book. Yeah, I'm this and other. Hopefully I write more and become a famous author or whatever, something like that. But to this day, I can walk into the Coney Island and get something to eat. Nobody bothers me.
Right.
They can't. You know what I'm saying? And that has to weigh on you. Is that, damn, man, I just can't, I can't go to Peace Coney Island no more without having the place fucking shut down for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And then years and years of that,
Yeah, of that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I mean, but I'm pretty sure, when you get in that industry and you get to that level, you meet other people who are at that level, who've been there, done that, and they kind of coach you. When I came over to Saudi Arabia and I'm in the Middle East and it's so restrictive, I feel like I'm in prison, right? In the first, 2 or 3 years, I'm trying to get used to the culture and the Muslim culture and all other stuff like that. And I'm talking about like traditional Muslim culture where they shut down for prayer and everything.
Right.
And luckily for me, there were some older guys here, been over here 20 years, who kind of showed me, here's what you can do, here's what you can't do, here's how you survive this, here's how you survive that.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure, and I think when you get to that level in the music industry, somebody who's been there 5 years longer than you have eventually comes to you and say, hey, here's what you got to do. You can't do this anymore, but you can bring your friends over here and do that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's a different world, brother. That's all I can say. It's a different world.
Yeah. So you could probably even relate that to, Eminem's inability to really save everybody. Is like, there was somebody probably telling him, look, like maybe at first he was trying to save everybody. And somebody was telling him, look, you got 30 people there waiting for record deals. You can't do it, man. You can't fucking do it. It's going to lead to this. It's going to lead to that. Explain to him how he's now going to be responsible, how if it doesn't go well, it's going to be his fault, and he probably had to just put his blinders on and just go, because that might have been the advice he got from people who were in the game longer than him. And, some of the great stories about M that you read about, or like, he didn't even know how much money he had. He would be calling his manager to ask if he can afford this watch and shit. You know what I mean? And it's like, So he
Oh,
must
yeah.
have had some guides and some mentors that may have affected a lot of the decisions that, unfortunately, you don't see the butterfly effect that leads to some of the tragedies that are in your book, you know?
Yeah. I like everybody want to help everybody, man. Like everybody dreams about buying the block they grew up on.
Yeah,
But
everybody.
there's consequences for doing that. You know what I'm saying? And just like any good, you know, I'm a risk assessment professional. So just like any good thing, you have to look at what if I do that, what is the risk of me doing that?
Right.
Because it's not just Charles Strong buying it. I'm not famous. Somebody famous comes along and buys the whole block. That whole block is now famous forever. This is the block that Eminem bought. This is the block. You know what I'm saying?
People are going to come see it. It's going to have tourists now.
It will always be known now. You know, even now, you know, people drive down Runyon and they just want to see the block. You know what I'm saying? They just want to see it. You know, there's no houses left, but, you know, they just want to see it. You know what I'm saying? You know, and
hey, if I was in Detroit, I'd go see it, man.
Yeah. I mean, the corner store they took a picture at, that's all burned down now, you know, stuff like that.
That's
fun. You know, it's just time don't stop moving, brother. You know what I'm saying? No matter what happens, time don't stop moving. Yeah.
Well, then,
anyway,
man,
not to dwell too much on the negative.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I have a couple of little things I want to ask you on a more positive note, but you know, I don't want to take up a whole lot of your time. I just want to say, you know, we'll save the very tragic stories of JJ and Mal. People who go and read the book, please, because they're very important stories as well. And rest in peace to both of those young men. Everybody knows about the Proof story, but those other little tragedies, I don't think anybody knows those stories at all. And they were extremely hard to read, extremely heartbreaking. And I don't want to gloss over them in this podcast, but I also can't go without mentioning them. So rest in peace to those men. And again, we'll save those stories for the book. The other thing that I find really heartbreaking that I want to touch on and ask if it's still the case, con artists and conniva, Vaughn and Nani, not talking still.
All right, that's, you know, they have they're brothers, you know what I'm saying? So brothers get upset, get back together, stuff like that, you know what I'm saying? There was a brief period of time where they wasn't discussing. The relationship has gotten better now, as far as I know, but I haven't been home. I'm overseas. So they're talking in and out. I don't know what type of in and out talking they did, but the last time when I spoke to them, you know, and again, I'm the little brother, right? So I'm like in between this madness, right? So and this is one of the things where when you read the book, you can perceive it as, well, you mentioning Vaughn too much, and you're not mentioning Donnie again. And you're not mentioning Vaughn enough, you know. But like I said Vaughn is mentioned so much because me and him was closer, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So almost every step of the way, Vaughn has been there. Conniva has been there, you know what I'm saying? So he's not mentioned to be throwing his name out there to say I'm getting famous off. No. He was there in real life, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. You know, and he's my brother, you know what I'm saying? So there it is. But you know, as far as I know now, their relationship is on the mend, and that's good because eventually,
that's great.
You know what I'm saying, family gonna have to step in and say, okay, this is some bullshit, let's go. You know what I'm saying? You know, but right now, I think their relationship is on the mend, but you would have to ask them about their relationship, you know, as far as is it the way it was before or whatever. But you know, it's it get like that. You know, the members in the group sometimes, you know, they don't talk to each other for a little bit of time, but they're all family, man. So it's like, look, you're gonna see me, so we might as well work it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing with like, you know, Bazaar and Swift and all that. If they ever got into a beef with them, it's like, okay, well, you know, we all got to meet for this time. So
we're not gonna fight. Like, we're not gonna shoot each other. You know, eventually we're gonna talk it out.
So whatever it is, let's just get past this shit.
Yeah.
let's get back. You know what I'm saying? And that's it.
Yeah,
family is still family.
that's definitely great to hear. And Kaniva was my favorite member of D12. As far as like his verses on the records on the albums, like were my favorite. On a D12 world, he really stepped up and shined in my mind. I think he was actually the highlight of that album for me. His verses were fantastic. And then to hear that, him and Con Artist weren't talking for a while sucked, but now to hear that it might be on the mend is good news, right? And the question I wanted to segue that into is something as a fan is like, their back and forth verses, right? Like on Purple Pills, on My Band, on Loyalty. I never really heard people do it quite like that until them. You know what I mean? Was that something that they always did, or was that something that they invented to sort of push together a 6-member song into less verses because there's too many people on the song? You know what I mean? I always kind of wondered that because those verses were hype as fuck. They'd be going back and forth and run, like,
Well, there's a very big story to that, and
awesome.
And I wrote in the book earlier about how the I guess the maturation of D12 happened when it was DRS, and then everybody kind of broke off to their own little groups. Well, Von and Denon and a third person named Vale was all part of a group called Brigade. All right,
the Brigade,
and Brigade, and the Brigade used to do cadence all the time, back and forth. And then Vale started focusing on doing more solo stuff, but Von and Nani kept doing the I don't know what you call it, Tatum rap or whatever.
I don't even know what to call it. They kind of invented it, man.
I think it's called Tatum or Tandem rap, whatever it is, where you say one part, other one says it, and so they would write their lyrics kind of like that, and they was doing that before D12. You know what I'm saying?
That's amazing, man. I was hoping that was the case.
Yeah. So when they first came out with Purple Pills, it was only natural for Von and Nan to have verses together because they was the Brigade. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then they used that formula again on My Band, and their verse was fucking hilarious. They're like arguing over, you know what I mean? No, you go talk to M. No, you go talk to M. You know what I'm saying? And then on Loyalty was my favorite time they did that because that verse was just hard as fuck. Like that, you hear them do it comedically before, like on Blow My Buzz and Purple Pills and My Band, and then to hear them do it on just like a straight fucking gut up bars verse like on Loyalty, like that was the hypest shit ever, man. So
the best
hear that was always something they did because I never hear anybody do it as good as them. I think I hear maybe Jada and Styles P do it once, but they didn't have quite the same back and forth cadence as Kaniva and Con Artist, man. I think they're the kings of that in my mind.
When they did that the verse on Bitch.
Bitch, yeah. Dude, the arguing.
I'm dying laughing because Nani is just saying vulgar things to this chick, and Von's trying to cover for him, like, oh no, he didn't mean that. He meant this and whatever. You know what I'm saying? And then finally, like Nani, like, bitch, what up, though? Just go into it.
That's just so creative, man.
Yeah, man.
That's some real good songwriting.
And it was, as a little brother, it was so enjoyable to see it. It's because I remember the talent shows. I remember them missing out on that grand prize. And then to see them win like they did, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I couldn't have been happier for those guys. All of the guys. I couldn't have been happier for them, you know what I'm saying? And I'm glad they still doing things now, but I'm glad they got that opportunity to do that together, you know what I'm saying, like they did. And that was a very special time.
Absolutely. And I still enjoy watching those tour DVDs and just watching those guys tour through Europe. It's just incredible, man. Like you're really just watching a dream come true. For guys, just regular guys from the east side of Detroit getting to live their dreams. And this book really puts it in perspective of just how regular guys they really are, and that once again, love wins, man. Like no matter what happens, love will prevail.
Yeah, that's it, man. You know what I'm saying? That's all. If you just simply come back to the fact that family is family, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
No matter what happens, somebody from the family is going to eventually say, "Hey, enough of this nonsense."
It has to happen, right? Because like you said, you're not going to come to blows. You're not going to shoot each other. Eventually
Right.
it's gonna blow over one way or another.
Forward, you know what I'm saying? Always thinking forward. That's it.
Yeah. So once again, man, just thank you so much for telling these stories. And I appreciate you a lot for coming on the show. I'm humbled. I'm honored. If there's anything else you want to say to the people or anything you have coming up you'd like to promote, please be my guest.
Well, again, shout out to D12, shout out to Runyon Ave, Mr. Porter, Conniva doing their thing out there, busy, Swift, everybody, you know what I'm saying? Happy for those guys, happy they keep doing it, even though D12 is not making out albums right now. Maybe in the future, you know what I'm saying?
We can all hope. We can all hope.
But the book is out. It's on Amazon. It's available on Kindle. It's also the audio book is pretty dope because the voiceover actor actually did some really good mannerisms in it. They kind of make you laugh. Okay. It kind of make you understand the tension in some of those things. You know what I'm saying? Right. So it's a very good. Check that out if you have a chance. And soon Runyon Ave Enterprises website is currently being revamped. It's going to be relaunched probably later on this year. And I'm going to have a store with some Runyon Ave gear, as well as the book and things of that nature. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually I actually took a new position back home in the States, and I'm in the process of moving from Saudi Arabia back home to the States. So I'm looking forward to that and touching back with the guys, and and just moving forward, man. I'm just happy I got a chance. I guess I want to leave with saying they always say history is written by the victors, right? And in this day and age, history is written by he who has the most followers, right? So a lot of times, just because somebody have a lot of followers, don't mean they're the person you should be listening to. You know what I'm saying? So that's why I give big ups to shows like yours, starting out, gaining a lot of momentum, and going to do big things.
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying? Because of these humble beginnings now, you know what I'm saying? And, when you do something and you put it out there, and you put your music out there, you know what I'm saying? He who has the most likes is going to try to control the narrative. Yeah. But you have your own narrative, your own story, and you need to tell that story. You know what I'm saying? That's it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for the time, man.
No, I appreciate you so much, and thank you for the kind words and the wise words. And hopefully everybody has something to take away from this. And there's a lot more to take away from the book, The Block Remembers. So go out and get that. Charles, once again, thank you so much, my brother. I really appreciate you, and hopefully we can stay in touch. And you never know, man. You never know what the future holds. And congratulations on all your success in life and really just making it out of that situation. All praise to you.
Hey, thank you, brother. All right.
You as well, my friend.
Baby. See y'all later.
All day.
All right, peace. Yeah.
About to take a plane to another plane, to another plane, to another plane, bumping Baka not nice while I'm trapping in the rain.